Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and peace be upon you all, and welcome to a new episode of Islam and Natural Philosophy with Dr. Basil AlTaie. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Basil.
Wa alaikum assalam. Ahlan wa marhaban.
Ahlan bik. This is your host, Ahmed Ishra, also known as Finding Truth, in this new episode where we will continue explaining the first principle of Daqiq Al Kalam, which is atomism, which
Yes.
Dr. Basil has started explaining last time. So, Dr. Basil, I leave the stage to you, and let's listen to your interesting presentation, inshallah.
Yes. Well, here I come to the concept of vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
This is also a very genuine and original contribution of Kalam. As you know, Mutakallimun said there is nothing in the existence except the atoms, الجزء الذي لا يتجزأ, and call it atoms, and voids. Void is vacuum, is the physical vacuum.
Okay.
Mu'tazilis consider the vacuum, khala, they call it, khala in Arabic, being composed of jawahir.
Wow.
But having no occupancy.
Okay. It's a very deep concept.
Indeed. However, these jawahir of the ma'doom, of the adam, of the vacuum, the jawahir of the adam, have their transient properties too, which means that such entities are rather virtual states and not real.
Okay. So does this by any means translate to the virtual particles that modern? Wow.
Exactly.
Okay. Amazing.
Yeah, it is. You will see. And it is when God wants to create something from nothing, he will convert those virtual states into real states.
SubhanAllah. Amazing.
And this is what we found in our cosmology. The whole universe, in modern cosmology now, and in my Ph.D. thesis in 1978, I have already found that the virtual states were converted into the real states, virtual state, I mean, of particles, or virtual fields, converted to real fields by the force of gravity, or to be more accurate, by inducing a huge curvature in the space-time. Particle and antiparticle pairs were created. Was just created, and that's what makes Lawrence Krauss. He's not a Muslim, he's not a believer. His book, A Universe Out of Nothing, he talks about this.
Yeah.
But mind you, Lawrence Krauss and even Stephen Hawking, they miss one thing. Let me be, more specific. It's Lawrence Krauss. He tried to shroud the creation process out of nothing with mystery. And he said quantum fluctuations are already there in the vacuum, in the physical vacuum. These fluctuations caused the creation of the universe. Well, he's right, but he's not telling the people that it is some kind of introduced force of gravity which made such a boost into realistic existence. Stephen Hawking was fair in his book when he presented the grand design, And he said the universe was created out of nothing by gravity. Okay. The vacuum.
And then the question.
the vacuum needs no creator because it's vacuum.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay.
But where, Mr. Hawking, where does the gravity
Gravity come from?
come from to convert
Yeah.
the virtual states into real states?
This then becomes the question, and there is no answer, obviously.
No answer. He will immediately tell you. He, Hawking, Paul Davies, Stephen Weinberg, they will tell you, Mr. Ahmed, we don't know anything about the initial conditions of the universe. Okay, you don't know anything, but you know your physics tells you quantum field theory in curved space-time has already told us that the gravity or the curvature of space-time plays the role to convert. Who introduced that huge curvature in the very beginning?
Yes. Yes. Because in our physical world, to have a huge curvature in space-time, for example, you need a huge, massive object. So without any object, if there is only vacuum, where did this curvature come from?
By the way, the Ash'aris negated that the vacuum could be composed, or the void could be composed of jawahir. Because they say, if we say that, then it could be eternal. Those jawahir could be eternal. But they were wrong, unfortunately, the Ash'aris.
No.
Why? Because the jawahir of the vacuum are also under recreation.
Yes.
Because they are muhdathat. Muhdathat means something which brought to existence. They are. And they are continuously under recreation. So why you feel that it is a problem with the divine, that there is an eternal existence other than the divine? No, there isn't.
In this case, in the case of the Mu'tazilis, the vacuum or the khala that they are talking about will actually translate into pseudo vacuum according to modern
it corresponds to the modern understanding by Paul Dirac. It's called the whole vacuum theory. The negative energy states and whole theory is well known.
Yeah.
Without which there will be no electrodynamics, without which there will be no strong forces in the nucleus, without which you cannot have two protons sitting inside the nucleus. By the way, you cannot have two protons, two positive charges. Very, very, very close, 10 to the power minus 14 meter close, and you can calculate the force, the repulsive force.
Huge.
The nucleus should
explode.
Yes. Without the virtual states, virtual vacuum, virtual pi mesons jumping between protons and neutrons, by the way. That's why you cannot find the nucleus of any element with two protons only. You can have two protons, but there must be one neutron mediating between them.
Okay. So the switching will take place.
Yeah, the switching takes place.
Yes.
A neutron converted to proton, proton converted. And this, I mean, detailed technical explanation.
Yeah.
In the new Kalam,
it's this translates to the gluon field, for example.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah.
In the new Kalam, you see, this problem is resolved, as I said, by saying that it is under recreation, the vacuum states. Yeah. By the way, here I can only say
Mu'tazilis in this case were more close to modern physics than Ash'aris. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Mu'tazilis were, in my opinion, were correct. That's why when I am asked, are you Mu'tazili or Ash'ari? I say this Ash'ari Mu'tazili is part of the past. It's gone. We are now new Kalam. We have new Kalam. Whatever correct with Mu'tazili, I will adopt it. Whatever I find correct with Ash'ari, I adopt it.
Yes.
And
Especially we are now considering Daqiq Al Kalam, which is more about nature and physics. It's actually
exactly,
not about studying divine or human
no, I don't need to
essence. Yeah.
introduce the divine here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
introduce the divine. I
Yeah.
am only for historical reason. I
Absolutely.
am
Yeah.
referring to
Yeah.
the religious arguments of metaphysics.
Absolutely.
Only
Absolutely.
for historical reason, mind you,
Yes.
because it would be easy to attack this line of studies by saying, well, this is a kind of apologetic, etc., etc.
Mhm.
Not
Mhm.
apologetic anymore.
Yeah.
It's not apologetic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
You know, the description of the vacuum, in my opinion, needs worth serious new studies now.
Yeah.
The other topic is atomism of time.
Mm-hmm.
This is also a genuine contribution of Daqiq Al Kalam, in
Mm-hmm.
which time is viewed to be discrete. Until
Okay.
recently, physicists did not need to atomize time. Time in quantum mechanics, by the way, is considered mere parameter, not unobservable. They don't call it unobservable.
Mm.
And it's not quantized, it's
Mm.
continuous, it's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
external. However, to quantize the space-time and obtain a quantum description of gravity, we need to quantize time. You know,
Yeah.
recently I have only yesterday I finished my paper about the quantum time with two
Mm-hmm.
other colleagues. Yes, at Leeds University. I hope
Okay.
send it
You,
for.
you you had the paper with you?
Yeah, it's the preprint.
Ah, okay. So good luck, inshallah, for the paper to be very well perceived, inshallah. Yeah, got it. Yes.
Anyway, recently some feasible ideas has been proposed to have the time quantized according to quantum clocks. Accordingly, actually, quantum clocks
Mm-hmm.
have been suggested on theoretical level. I mean, it's not a
Mm-hmm.
device that you can build. It's a theoretical presentation, and these proposals find useful application in quantum gravity and quantum information analysis, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
beside many other outstanding problems in physics, like the quantum Zeno effect, if you have heard of that, the quantum Zeno effect, and the tunneling time, calculating the tunneling time, where particles appear to have a superluminal speed higher than the velocity of
Light.
light. Yes, through tunneling, through barriers,
Yeah.
through barriers, potential barriers, and it was proved not only theoretically but experimentally by many experiments. It's only apparent that there is a superluminal speed, but we say no. If you consider a quantum clock, then for measuring time, then you can reach the conclusion that it is not a superluminal speed.
So using the concept of atomism of time can actually
Yes,
solve the
yes,
matter of particles disappearing from one place and appearing on the
exactly.
other side of a barrier in what appears to be faster than light
That's right.
speed.
That's
Okay.
right. I understand you are engineer of of informatics or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Communication engineering and
Yes, you will
studies
appreciate that
of
if you go in
yeah.
details.
Absolutely.
You will highly appreciate that because
Absolutely.
it goes into an encryption,
Yeah.
information encryption in communication, which is very important for the security.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
even many of the electronic
Network.
components depend on tunneling.
Yes.
Even the simplest components,
Yes, yes,
diodes,
yes.
etc. Yeah,
My mobile is full of
full of
diodes,
tunneling. Yeah,
trans.
transistors all over the place. Yeah,
Now we come to the critique,
But
criticizing.
how did they, Doctor? How did they arrive to the atomism of time? So atomism of matter
They arrive to it from the general principle that
from the
everything should
general.
be atomized. This is they don't have much argument about it. They only said that time should be quantized as any other thing.
Okay, أحصى كل شيء, so they consider time شيء.
Time is shay, yeah.
Yes.
If you like.
Time is a thing. Okay.
Yeah, if you like.
Subhanallah. Okay.
Criticizing atomism, there were many critiques actually about it already. One of the Mu'tazili.
I would like, if I am to sit in their place, maybe I would have, I don't know if they have ever used it, but it struck my mind now, an ayah that says قالوا لبثنا يوما أو بعض يوم فاسأل العادين.
Yes.
So there are maybe angels or something who are counting time. It just strikes my mind.
Yeah,
maybe they thought of it this way. I don't know.
It's good a sign, that time is countable. But then they would say countable by days and
yes, maybe, yeah.
Al-Nadham rejected. Al-Nadham was a Mu'tazili, and he was really, as they describe him, a clever person, very genius, a genius of the Mu'tazili. He negated the atomism, rejected the notion of finite divisibility, and when confronted with the counter argument that like the Zeno paradox, for example, he suggested that a particle in motion.
Can you explain in brief what is the Zeno paradox, Dr. Basil?
Yeah, I tell you, Zeno paradox is easy. It tells you that if any ants, namla, would cover this distance from here to here, should first cover half of it.
Okay.
And to cover half the distance, it needs to cover half the half.
Okay.
And if it needs to cover the half, it needs to cover half the half.
Okay.
And ad infinitum. So if this distance here, from here to here, is to be indivisible, is to be infinitely divisible,
then it will never reach the other end.
Exactly. This is Zeno paradox.
Okay. Interesting.
Accordingly, there should be finite division.
All right. So he was confronted by this An-Nadham.
Yeah, he was confronted. So what he said, look at the very, very strange idea he had. He said, don't you think that the ants, and it was really, the example was about an ant covering a finite distance. Don't you think that the ant is covering the distance bit by bit? No. It is covering some part and then jumping to other part, and so on. So it covers يقطع بعضها بالطفر jump ويقطع بعضها بالمسير.
Okay.
In order to escape or to resolve the problem of Zeno paradox.
So at the end of the day, when it is confronted by the continuity problem, then he will say there will be jumps to bridge the infinite part.
Now we come to the contemporary philosopher of science, Max Hemer. In his book, The Philosophy of Quantum Mechanics, he says Al-Nadham was forerunner for a quantum jump.
Okay.
He considered Nadham as a quantum, as the first one who talked about a quantum jump.
Subhanallah.
If I say it, they would say you are biased. Nadham is Arab and you are Arab or Muslim. And this is nonsense. But it is Max Hemer, the Israeli historian and philosopher of science. He's a great scholar, by the way. He's a great scholar. He has many beautiful books: concept of space, concept of mass, philosophy of
SubhanAllah.
quantum mechanics.
Hmm.
He considered Nadam in page 57, I remember, of his book, The Philosophy of Quantum Mechanics. Ibn Hazm, now going back to in history, Ibn Hazm,
Mm-hmm.
who was alive during the 3rd or the 4th century of Islam, that is the 10th century, negated the existence of Jawahir or Jawhar on the basis that, that it is not supported by observations. He want to see the Jawhar, The other scholar, Muslim philosopher who negated the finite divisibility and the Al-Jawhar was Ibn Rushd, based on the Aristotelian arguments. He brought arguments similar to what Aristotle already brought against Democritus atomism.
Okay.
Similar.
Interesting.
Similar.
Yeah.
Now the question comes: what is the origin of Kalam atomism? People thought it may have been borrowed from the Hindu legacy, for example. The Hindus have atomistic ideas also, or the Greek, because there were a lot of books translated into Arabic, and it was known by the 3rd century after Hijrah and the 4th century after Hijrah. Although Mutakallimun actually started the 2nd century after Hijrah, that's the 8th century AD. But nevertheless, there are some claims that it could be Greek. As I said before, two great scholars, Shlomo Pins in his book Islamic Atomism or Islamic Atomism, and Harry Wolfson in his book The Philosophy of the Kalam, showed that there is no way that atomism, the Kalam atomism, has been borrowed from any Greek or Hindu sources. More about that can be read in my book, Daqiq Al Kalam, The Islamic Philosophy of Nature, of the Islamic natural philosophy. Actually, it is going to be published, I hope, in a few months.
Soon, inshallah.
In a few months, yes. Today I received the draft of the contract to be published in English. It was already published in Arabic in 2 editions, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Once.
In the introductory session, yes, we mentioned that. Yes.
Now, I want to say a word about, as a final slide, I will talk about Greek atomism. It's a clarification here. The notion of atomism in Greek philosophy is associated with the names of, they say, Leucippus, Democritus, Epicurus, and Locritus. But when I went into in-depth study, I found myself that the only one who is worth mentioning is Democritus, because some people say that Leucippus may not exist even.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Not a historical character.
Some.
Yeah.
Aristotle says that is not existing.
Okay. Strange.
And also, but mind you, I found, that Europeans have made out of fragments of words, as I will say, fragments of sentences and words. They made a great legacy of, philosophy, pre-Socratic and of natural philosophy. It's not. It's too much exaggeration.
Yeah.
On that. We have, on the other hand, we have great books, many full monographs, books, etc. And we don't pay attention. We only say, this هذا علم يفسد العقيدة. This is a science, or this is a knowledge which will make your عقيدة, your creed corrupt. Why?
Yeah.
You can revise it, you can correct it, you can dismiss those parts which caused the problems, but you shouldn't leave everything. You shouldn't destroy your legacy.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Believe me, yesterday I found a book which is thought to be one of the great books on which the researcher use. It is the fragments about atomism in Greek philosophy. And in some places, in some sentences, it is like the sentences of Nostradamus, if you know who is
It's an oracle.
You cannot understand what does it mean. It has many faces.
Yes. You will interpret it after things happen and say that this is what he meant.
Yeah. So, in fact, the Greek atom was called actually uncuttable. Yes, they have said. Yes, Democritus already said that there is a finite divisibility, etc. And Aristotle presented many arguments against it. But never mind. It is an atomism. The Greek atom is just a simple, tiny part of matter. Of matter or any other extension, by the way. So simple and primitive a concept as compared to the Kalam atom. Kalam atom is much more complicated, a fact which has been acknowledged by scholars in this field. The properties of material substances and nature of change that takes place within is not clear in the Greek atomism. How change happen? They say these atoms collide, and that is how the change happen. This is not enough. While in the Kalam atomism, you have the Jawhar and Arad is changing, and the Jawhar accept a set of Arad. For example, cotton accept the Arad of fire. Yeah.
Okay, I see.
And they have discussed this, but iron would not accept the arad of fire, it accepts the arad of heat.
Okay.
And they have differentiated between heat and fire. متكلمون. This is quite different, So don't tell me that it is Greek atomism and they have these arguments, they have only stolen the Greek atomism and adopted it into Islamic framework. It's not
because their concept as mutakallimun is much more deeper. It is
more deeper.
It goes to a much deeper level of abstraction, and then
as I told you, it is magnitude-less, as put by Harry Wolfson. Magnitude-less, the Kalam atom.
Yeah.
It's only two jawhar or two جزء لا يتجزأ will make a body. At least two non-divisible part or two parts can make a body. One divisible part cannot make a body.
According to mutakallimun.
Yes.
Very strange.
Yeah. Please read the chapter about atomism. In Harry Wolfson is a great chapter, a great work. Although I have much difference with him, of course, in some details, obviously. But in the general, I would say he's correct, he's right. So we should not underestimate, the contributions of the mutakallimun, and this is only one principle. When we come in the next episode to the principle of temporality and principle of recreation and how indeterminism is developed, we will see.
I have a question, Doctor. If we look at the Jawhar, that now the real Jawhar, the smallest one, the atomistic Jawhar, so the what maybe corresponds to a
If you
quark
say
in our
Jawhar is abstract, it is like psi in a quantum mechanics. It's like psi.
Oh, a wave function. So in their mind, what will cause the arad to come to the Jawhar? What is the initiator of the arad in this case? In their kalam,
which is the Jawhar who would accept this or that arad.
Okay, but then from where the arad is coming, I mean.
Yeah, the arad comes as a transient property, as a transient. Again, there is a religious reason for assuming that.
Okay.
They said God should be sustainer of the universe.
Okay, this is what I would like to reach to.
Exactly.
So Jawahir on their own will do nothing. There needs to be a divine initiator for the transient states, and he is the sustainer of the universe in this case.
I admit that it is religious background is already there in Kalam. Cannot deny the religious influence. I mean, in concepts.
Actually, the magnificent part of it is that the religious part not only illuminates it, but actually makes it all make sense. Because if you continue,
one day we'll talk about the Qayyum, in episode number 4.
Inshallah.
Qayyum, and how the probabilistic nature comes, and what's the role of the Qayyum in the probabilistic nature of the world.
Yes. Absolutely.
If there is no probability, if the world is deterministic, there will be no need for God.
Yes. Then
contrary to what Einstein has said.
Yes, subhanallah. So we leave our audience intrigued to continue the series and see how those jewels of thought of how the divine revelation of Islam illuminated the minds of early Muslims, so that they have skipped hundreds and thousands of years forward to discover what we have just lately discovered. So thank you very much, Dr. Basil, for this very informative and very illuminating rediscovery of our heritage and our legacy. And inshallah, we use it to assume our rightful position between faith and science to re-advance our ummah, inshallah. So thank you very much for this.
Thank you, Ahmed. I am glad to present such a series indeed.
Actually, thank you very much. And to everybody, you can, if you have questions about what we have discussed today, please jump to the other side with us to the live after show, where you can ask Dr. Basil live questions, and he will, inshallah, answer you. And join us again next week when we consider the second principle of Kalam, inshallah, of Daqiq Al Kalam. And assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.